From Affirm Films, the studio that brought you Miracles from Heaven, comes 5,000 Blankets. A woman and her young son Philip set out to find his missing father on the streets, sparking a movement that inspires a city.
There are over 5,000 homeless souls in this city alone. So it is Philip's wish to reach each and every one of them with a comforting gesture.
Inspired by a true story. 5,000 Blankets. In theaters for 2 nights only, December 12th and 13th. Rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13. More information is available at 5000blanketsmovie.com.
Of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions, from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at mediaangels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hey everyone and welcome. This is Felice Gerwitz, and today we are going to talk about top 5 great ideas for kids to make gifts. So you can find the show notes for today's episode at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. Look for episode 415, and the topic is great gifts kids can make. So today we are thinking about so many different things, I am sure, and just trying to get your schoolwork done right. Well, the holidays are coming, and you may be thinking about what to buy people in your family. Well, it's time to think about this and be on the lookout for the things that people really need. And this is part of my Just for Kids series. So if you have kids, please bring them alongside, and this podcast is for them. Okay, kids, so the holidays may be around the corner, or you want to make a gift or buy a gift for someone in your family. And so what should you do? Should you make something or should you buy it? And maybe you're thinking, well, I try to make things, but it never comes out right. Well, sometimes we need to look at, some information online to help us. And if you do, make sure you have an adult with you. I also have some links for some websites that I found very helpful, and you can find that on the show notes page. So if you go to vintagehomeschoolmoms.com and look for episode 415, Great Gifts Kids Can Make. Some of these gifts need adult help, or if you're older, you can help younger siblings. Or ask another adult to help you that is not the person you're making the gift for. I'm a grandmother, and I love to help my grandchildren to make things for their parents or even their aunts, uncles, or cousins. So I'm sure you can find someone who can help you. And like I said, you may be old enough to do it on your own. So first, let's think about handmade gifts. Do you like them, or would you rather have something from the store? Well, I personally love handmade gifts better than store-bought gifts because it shows that the other person making the gift really cared about me and took the time and used their talents to make the gift. I'm going to share with you some of my favorites and also some that may be favorite gifts that you've given and people have really appreciated. Through the years, I've gotten all kinds of handmade gifts, and one of them is a pot holder or a trivet or a hot pad, and this is something you can put on the table. So one of them, the pot holders, were made out of fabric, and some of them were decorative, which means you really can't use them for hot things, but they look really pretty when you hang them on the wall. And the trivets or the hot pads were actually made out of strips of wood that were glued together. And I love those things because I can put them on a table and put a hot pot on it, and they look really nice, and it keeps the table from getting burnt. So you may want to think about some of the things that people like. I've gotten some jewelry sometimes, and I have to admit that I didn't wear the necklaces or earrings that my kids made me, but my mother, their grandmother, did. She loved bead necklaces, so she just added the ones that the kids made to the group of necklaces she wore. So here is what I want you to do. The first thing is look around. This is where you're going to be deep undercover, okay? Not really, but you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. You don't need binoculars for this assignment, but you do need to look around and think about what people need or want. Does your mom or dad have a favorite mug that they use every morning? Is there something that they use all the time that's getting worn out? If you look at things that your parents like, maybe your mom or dad collects different things, that will give you some ideas. My grandmother loved wind chimes, and I love wind chimes as well, and that's something that's easy to make. Or, you can't have enough hot pads for the table. So look around and take some time to really observe what are some things that your parents use all the time. Also, think about the gifts that you've liked. Think about gifts you get and remember your favorite presents. And what are they? Many times we can't remember any favorite gifts because they either broke or we didn't really enjoy them that well. For example, I wanted a camera, and when I got one, I didn't use it that much. Why did I want a camera? Because I like painting. And I thought that if I could take pictures of the things I wanted to paint, it would make it easier to remember when I actually painted it. But I only looked at the picture like 1 or 2 times. So think about a gift that you liked and maybe the reason you liked your gift, and maybe that will help you. So it may have been better if I had asked for some painting supplies or something like that. So obviously that is something you have to buy, but that just gives you some ideas. And if you really think about why you liked what you got, for example, some of you may like building things. You may like, Legos or things like that. And why do you like these little kits? And you like them because you can put stuff together and take it apart. So, be thinking along those lines. The third is, how much time do you have to make a gift? A lot of times we don't have time, but then we can be creative. And I'm going to give you some great ideas from some other podcasts I did on making gifts, but also an easy gift for you to make. Actually, a couple of them are super easy. And one of the things actually takes things you can find around the house. And here's a great insider's tip. Did you know you can turn things that are broken into presents? Yes, you can, and for pennies. So I'm going to teach you about that in just a minute, but really think about how much time you have, and then that's going to help you decide what kind of gift you're going to make. And another is, how much do you like crafts or making gifts? If you say not very much, don't worry. I have another great solution, so hold tight. The solution I have is something that is super fast and that will fit into I don't have time. But even though it's fast, you have to put some thought into it and you have to wrap it up beautifully. So be thinking about that. And the fifth thing is, do you have a talent that can be turned into a gift? Again, time to think. What is something that you do well that can be turned into a gift? Can you draw or paint? Can you bake? Something that my daughter does is she makes really good chocolate fudge, and everyone loves her chocolate fudge. And this recipe is one that was passed down by my husband, so her great-great-grandmother, and she uses that recipe, and it's a really different type of fudge recipe. It's kind of a hard fudge. It breaks apart when you bite into it, and then it kind of melts. So it's not the chewy fudge. And I tried to make it. I made it a couple of times. It's a lot of work, and I didn't really like how it tastes, but everyone who she makes it for loves that fudge. So you can find something like that that's an old family recipe that you can make, or if you can make something out of wood or even Legos. I remember my son made me a pencil holder out of Legos. That was really cool until I ended up breaking it. But it was really cool. Or if you can get a wood burning kit and you can burn a sign out of a piece of wood, you can burn it with a wood burning tool. So those are just some ideas. And also, do you collect things? So think about what you have that's a talent that can be turned into a gift. So now I'm going to give you some ideas, okay? And here are my top 5 gift-making ideas for kids. The first is office accessories. So remember that pencil holder I told you that my son made out of Legos? And I know this sounds lame, but it was one of my favorite gifts. And I absolutely loved it. I also made another pencil holder when I was a kid for my mom. And the way I did it was I took a medium-sized can, and I have the instructions on the website. But I took a medium-sized empty can, some Play-Doh or fast-drying clay you can use, and I used pasta shells. So what I did with the pasta shells was I painted them, and I actually hand-painted them because I told you I like to paint. And when they dried, I put the clay on the can, and it stuck to the can. And then I pushed the little colored pasta shells, and they were actually like in the shape of the seashells. And I made, covered the whole entire can with it. And then when it dried, I spray painted it with some, like a glossy set thing. And that needs to be done outside because it can smell really bad. But you can use seashells. You can use old buttons, ask your mom for some buttons, or you may be able to collect some, or something that will stick to the clay. And that's a fun thing. Or if you like to build with blocks, you can make it out of blocks. You can cover, the clay with, like I said, all different types of things. And you don't even really need glue because the shells stick to the clay really well. And when the clay hardens, the shells stick. And then you can put in some things like some pencils or highlighters or Sharpies and, put it in a really pretty box. And so you can also do the same thing covering an old box. Remember I told you just stuff you can find around the house. You can use some of those plastic containers that are disposable and clear, and you can paint the sides of them. So you can do all kinds of things and then put in some things like paper clips, or things that your mom and dad use. Again, look at what they're doing and what they're using and just see if these are things that if there's something that you can do that will be helpful to them. A second thing to do is to make something that's a decoration, for example, wall art. So you need some paper, art paper glue, and either spray paint like white or some other solid color. And you may need an adult to help you with this. So first of all, you need to look at a place where your family could put this picture on a wall, because so many times we don't have a lot of wall space, so you have to be creative. So can you put this picture in a hallway or in a bathroom? So maybe think about that. And then you're going to have to go on a little bit of a nature walk, and either you can go around your yard or down the street or something. But I'm going to warn you, for what I'm going to say. So make sure that you have permission to take these things, okay? And so what is it that you're going to be looking for? You're going to be looking for things found in nature. It can either be a leaf or several leaves. It can be some weeds. A lot of times you can find some really pretty weeds that are flowering weeds that you can use. You can take a big picture, or take a big piece of art paper like watercolor paper or even a thick piece of cardboard and paint the back of it. And then you can pick an odd number of things. Big leaves look well, but in the winter they may be hard to find. So you can use twigs and pine needles or pieces of pine cone, and you can create a picture with this. Once you've glued these things, so you can move them around till you like how it looks, and then once you've glued these things, then this is where the fun part comes in. You can spray paint it a solid color. So you can either spray paint the whole thing white or blue or whatever colors that will go with, your mom and dad's, background or wall. So if their walls, yellow, then they, or light yellow or beige, then they may have some things on the wall that are green or blue. So look around. Again, put that detective hat on and try to figure that out. And so once you have sprayed it, you can put it in a frame, or you can even just leave it the way it is. If you can't use a spray can, you might be able to use a large brush and some solid color paint. Believe me, this looks great. If you have the ability to do this, you can even, once you've painted it a solid color, you can splatter paint on it. The really nice thing, and I tell my grandkids this, the nice thing about painting is you can usually paint over something. So if you're painting something, let's say watercolors, it's hard to do, but if you're using acrylics and it dries, because acrylic paint dries really quickly, then all you have to do, if you don't like how the water looks or how the sky looks, is you just paint white over it and you start again. And so you can do that with this as well. But if you can, you could even take a brush and practice splattering. So if you had painted all of these, these little things on this canvas white, then you could take a brush and splatter paint that's blue on it or some other color. Remember, less is more. So the more you splatter, it may not look as good as just a little bit here and there. You can take a picture of this and, show it to someone and see what they think. And I think that your mom or dad would really like this. And it doesn't have to be big. It can be something that's small too. The third thing is personal care items. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can make hand scrubs and things like that. You're going to need a glass container with a lid. So again, if your mom or dad have a pickle jar or mayonnaise jar or something that's glass that they're going to throw away, ask them to save some of the things like that, these recyclable things, and then you can clean them out really well. If it's something like pickles, you might want to clean it out with some vinegar and just let it air out. Or even put it in the dishwasher to air out. But then you can make some kind of a scrub. So you can use sugar or you can use salt, and you put a few drops of essential oil and you just stir it up, and it will make the sugar or the salt smell really good. So sugar hand scrubs are something that moms like a lot. I actually like the salt scrubs. I like the salt with the essential oils, and I sprinkle that in my bathtub. You can even use a few drops of light oil in this so that it mixes better and it kind of sticks together better. Not a lot, but just tiny little drops, and then you can always add more. In the winter, our hands get dry, and if you make these scrubs, it really helps to fluff off all the dry skin. And so there's lots of recipes for that online. And again, I've put some of these on my website. The fourth one is wind chimes, and you can make that, stuff like wind chimes or hot pads or vases. So now it's time to get creative. And if you're not, hold on, because I saved the easiest gift for last. So for this gift, you need scraps or broken items and creativity. So how do you make wind chimes? Well, you can make wind chimes using things that make noise. So do you have some old spoons or forks or things that your parents are throwing away that when you clink them together, they make a nice tinkling sound? And then you can make wind chimes. So you can take a hanger and you can take a wire hanger and bend it. I know sometimes it's hard to find wire hangers in houses because everybody has, fancy hangers or wood hangers or plastic hangers, but you could even use a plastic hanger if you wanted. And then all you do is you tie the item on with some string, or you can even glue some string to the item, and you would hang it so that it's close enough that if the wind blows that it would tinkle and it would be really pretty. Another thing you can do is make a hot pad. This is where you can use broken glass. So instead of throwing it away, with your parents' permission, ask your parents if you can keep flat pieces. You can keep it in a little plastic tub. And then you can use like either a painting that you've made or something and glue it to either a piece of wood or something that is going to protect the table so that if you put it on a table, it's not going to burn through. And then you can have a really pretty picture and then cover it with the pieces of glass, especially if it's clear glass. If it's white glass or some colored glass, then you can make a mosaic. And if you're not sure what a mosaic is, look it up. But this will look really, really nice. They can last a really long time. And again, I had one of these for forever that I made for my mom and dad. And then over the years, it actually broke. But you can make stuff like that this is something that they will really use. And again, you're going to need something like hot glue or some kind of clear glue to glue the glass down, and it needs to dry clear. The third is a flower vase. Do you like bringing your mom flowers from the yard? And they may be weeds, but they're still pretty. Well, search around for tiny containers. Again, it's better if it's glass, so keep your eyes out. It can be small olive jars or small containers that your mom or dad buys and throws away or uses it for recyclables. And then you can use this as a flower vase. You can either tie a ribbon to the top, or you can use sheets of tissue paper. So what you do is you take some tissue paper, that's the really thin paper that sometimes you get presents that are in bags, and that's the tissue paper in it. So instead of throwing away your tissue paper, you keep it, and then you tear off little pieces, and you can use clear glue and a paintbrush, and you can paint these scraps of tissue paper on. The really cool thing is once it all dries, it's kind of translucent, meaning you can kind of see through it. So you can even use small mason jars, and if you want to switch it up, instead of a flower vase, you might want to make a candle holder. And these are really pretty, and you can get those tiny little candles that are flat and round and have a little metal on the outside, and put them in and use them as a gift for a candle holder. So again, ask your parents, look for things around the house, and be on the lookout. Fifth thing, you ready for this easy thing? And that is gift cards. And I'm not talking about going to the store and buying a $20 gift card. I am talking about finding some note cards or small pieces of paper, and you need neat handwriting for this, or do it on the computer. So what you're going to do is you're going to give your parents a gift card that is going to translate into something that you can do for them. So, for example, one free car wash, or free vacuuming the house some other time when it may not be on your job list, or cleaning up, or a neck rub, or whatever that is that you do. Maybe you're going to do the dishes, or you're going to babysit the little kids. Believe me, your mom or dad or grandparents or aunts and uncles will really love this gift. And the best news is you don't need any crafts or art talents to do this. You can, put 2 or 3 different gift cards that you make, and then you can decorate it and wrap it up really pretty and put it in a small box. And then you can put the small box in a bigger box and wrap it up. Again, ask your parents for permission to use wrapping paper and tape, and you can even use some of those brown paper bags and decorate those. So, what do you think? Do you like any of these ideas? Maybe you don't, but as I was talking, it gave you more ideas. These are the ones that I think are really fun and easy to do. They don't take a lot of time. They don't take a lot of money to spend on supplies, and you can, be thinking about things, look around your house, be observant, put those detective eyes on and that detective hat on, and look around and see what it is that your parents use all the time, and that will give you some ideas. And the same with your siblings. So if you want to share your good idea with me, please head over to vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. And again, look for this episode 415. And these are great gifts that your kids can make. And that's you guys. Thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and TheVintageHomeschoolMoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.